in addition to foreign policy, there is a, some conservatives mention that, as you said, we need to spend more money in defense. Some say that we need to spend less money in defense. There's also a question of where you spend it and how you spend it. The United States has a great deal, we focus entirely on, almost lately, on the Middle East as the basis of our foreign policy. We have a lot of troops stationed all over the world. Would you foresee a drawdown of those troops?
I think that the idea of combating terrorism, to me, seems to be more consistent with small, highly technological, very specially trained forces as opposed to large ground forces. I think having hundreds of thousands of troops located anywhere is sort of a notion of the Cold War that I think we are getting beyond. I don't foresee us fighting a large land battle in Europe. I don't foresee us fighting a large land battle in Korea or Japan. I also think that some of these countries that are doing quite well economically need to be paying more for, the stability of the world. For example, China gets 50% of her oil through the Straits of Hormuz. So it's going to be our battle to keep the Straits of Hormuz open when China is the one who's the economic beneficiary of that. So I think that how we have our expenditures, we need to have a strong national defense. But that being said, that's the beginning of the debate. Then it needs to be, what does that entail? What weapons does it entail? And this is an area where there is a pretty healthy debate and needs to be. John McCain is a war hero and a strong national defense guy, but he's also been somebody who's questioned some of the procurements in the military as far as whether or not they've been jobs programs or just simply for one state versus the other.
Would you, for example, pull all of our troops out of Germany?
I think we need to have less, and I think that we have been actually tending towards less. I think in the last 15 years our numbers have been reduced, and I would continue that trend. Whether it's all, some, or how fast, I think is an open question.
A lot of the defense debate also ties into the balanced budget debate we talked about earlier, where there's a discussion that the super committee that met, and I'm going to guess you weren't a fan of the super committee, but that its failure to reach an agreement is, some people would have you believe that its failure to reach an agreement was catastrophic because now the cuts aren't targeted. There are other people who would say, you know what, any cut's a good cut, so I don't care if they reach agreement. I mean, how did you view that?
Well, the interesting thing is that most of the cuts are in proposed increases. So if you look at the military spending over the 10-year window, military spending will still be higher over a 10-year window than it was before. There is a little bit of an initial dip down in like the first year in the military budget, but our military budget's been doubled in the last 10 years. I think we were spending under $300 billion in 2001. We're over $700 billion now. So we really have greatly extended the money being spent on the military. And I guess I agree with what Secretary Gates said, that every dollar spent on the military is not sacred or well spent, and it needs to be questioned. And I think the biggest problem with conservatives and the biggest, I think, contradiction for conservatives is they want to be frugal with money domestically, but they want a blank check internationally. The problem is that our deficit is so massive, and there are a lot of people starting to come around to this. Senator Coburn, who's not a shrinking violet on defense, is a strong national defense guy, has said that we have to address military spending, that all military spending can't be sacrosanct. And when I've said that, he stood up and defended me on several occasions.